Hey up, Cock, it's EFL review time. We're going to look at the Championship and League One's results from this weekend and go over them. And there's no better place to start than Derby 3, Coventry 5. And I can't believe that instead of this, Pub had Aston Villa Newcastle on. Straight off bat, what a win. That is for Coventry, by the way. There's a lot going on with them, like rumours-wise, with some personnel that they've got. Obviously, Bobby Thomas had an hand in not only first goal, but I'm sure he got an assist for one further down, or he did really well from that end of pitch. But also, your main attributes as a defender are surely to protect what you've got and not be at other end. But Bobby Thomas had a say in a lot of goals at either end, really. Perfect penalty that Morris scored for Derby that I think Thomas gave away. But yeah, we're really good going forward. He's quite a threat, isn't he? I've got to be real though, looking at the 2-11s here that are in front of us and the expectations of both these sides. The personnel are just so very different. Derby spent a lot of money. I do think that they're on up, just generally, compared to what they've been like in the last couple of years. But if this into wake-up call, really, to the fact that you can't challenge these sides, I don't think, just yet at top of this division. I think Coventry are an absolute cert for top six. You look at the personnel that they've got on pitch. Hadji Wright, Rodoni and Mason Clark in a free behind striker. You've got Grimes and Torp at middle. That's where I even like Ben Sheaf and some other lads. I know they're considered free as well, but defensively I think they'll look better. And then Derby, I think he'll do well to finish mid-table. I think that's a realistic aim for him. But anything above that, I can't really see when you look at Coventry, or I don't even think he'd push top two, really. And are just like the most nailed-on playoff side ever looking at it this season. This is 11 that they're rocking. It just looked like such a good game end-to-end on highlights. And stats back it up, really. Obviously, second half, you'd expect Coventry to be going for it a little bit more, with nature of Derby going 3-1 up at time. But Coventry are just a good side. That's what it comes down to. I don't think there's any shame in losing to this team, but it's two different clubs in terms of what their expectations can be this season, really, with club level that they've got. Wrexham 2 baggies 3, and we're off with 2 losses out of 2 for Wrexham in division. They have had a very hard start, in fairness, with Southampton away and then West Brom at home. And West Brom have coming off back of 2 wins. This is a great win, by the way. I know people are looking at like, oh, plucky little Wrexham, thinking they'll be a pushover, and they've come up from League One, they're crap. I'm telling you now, not many teams will come here and win. The defensive side of things, I do think, looked a little bit of an issue for Wrexham, though. It's got to be said. Obviously, Windass went off with Ty Ame. McLean started. And when you look at this team in general, I think straight down middle, they're very strong. But the width is a clear problem with that 11. No AF decent championship side is starting James McLean, let's be completely real. But it's because that Kakase fella, I think he's pulled his hamstring in training, so it's just a precautionary thing. They might end up going to first international break, maybe with Windass and Kakase fella, both with same sort of problem. But straight out middle, I don't think it's a problem. A decent side will take advantage of, well, Barnett and McLean starting for you. But it's not going to be the team consistently throughout season, it's just based on injuries. Middle at Park, I still think they look quite good. Obviously, Broadhead I expect to be starting now. I'm assuming he'll just be plopped into Windass's position there. But West Brom look good. Again, West Brom did look good. Like, defensively, slight issues, really. But in middle of Park, I think they're very, very good. I'm not actually sure what this Price's position is. But in his first 2 games so far, in actual league that is, he's got a goal to win game against Blackburn, and then he's got 2 there. He got an assist against Derby and Cup. He's only 21 as well. They got him for pittance, didn't they, in January? How much were it? Oh, well, 2.5 mil to West Brom's pittance. This is 2 teams that I just expect to be top half, really, at least. Like Wrexham, obviously, have started really slow. West Brom have got 6 for 6. But by the time all this transfer window's done, Wrexham are going to have a lot more to say. But West Brom, good start that. Good start. I'd be excited, me, Farah Baggy. Obviously, you've got Phillips at back who's going to start every time. But when, where is he? Bielik on bench. He, I imagine, will start fairly soon. Madjo on bench who's coming back. Caleb Taylor, you could loan him to Barnes if you want. But that team and squad has got a lot to like, I think, from West Brom. They could be one to keep an eye on. Portsmouth 1, Norwich 2. Another AF12er. These 3 were all on at that time. I'm very surprised. Must be said, I am very surprised with this scoreline. Portsmouth defensively at home are actually normally quite good. Obviously, their own form last season were outstanding. Then they conceded 2 in opening 15 minutes to a Norwich side that lost to Millwall and should have lost by a lot more to Millwall in first game. Darlett, that were a good header, to be fair. And Sargent just doing what you'd expect, really, from him. Stats for match, fairly even, but Norwich obviously dominated first one with goals, and second, as they come out and tried to see a win out. Obviously, Portsmouth started to soak up all possession and all stats and everything. Really, really good goal from this fella, by the way. I saw him linked with him. There were a couple of sides wanting him, weren't there? I am not surprised at all, because that were a great little finish. A goal in first 2 games for him, and an assist in cup in midweek. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Championship has just taken a level up in recent years, because he looks very sharp as well. And I'll tell you what, where is he? If John Swift would have scored that hit bar at last minute, wowee, that were a rate strike. I won't be too disheartened here. Portsmouth, obviously you've changed from last season. I think you had to if you want to like propel yourself at all. They were really good at home and then really, really shockingly weak away. They went to Oxford first game. And won obviously, and then they've lost this one. It's just swings and roundabouts. It's teething problems or a new season. It's not to worry about at all. Bishop didn't have a lot to do, but I think the service weren't exactly the best really to him. And just speaking on like last season as well, Norwich defensively were awful. I think they were shocking in first game against Millwall. But you've got new players in here. Give them a bit of time. Once these lads are settled, Norwich are similar to West Brom, where I think they've got an outside shot really at top 6, or they could be in there really. I do think ultimately this is just two good championship sides, it's got to be said. Blackburn and Birmingham. Right, so this is finished 2-1 to Brom. Blackburn were winning through a Cantwell goal. Now, Travis isn't playing, is he? I don't think, because he said that he wants to leave. So Todd Cantwell ended up with armband on. Probably the least captainy captain I've ever seen in my life. He possesses no qualities at all that warrant having an armband on, personally. But tidy finish, nonetheless. That was a rate strike. And then first half, I looked at stats of this at half time when I was looking through it, and they were not happening. Yeah, well, there's been 2 shots at half time. No expected goals. It was very scrappy. Second half, it opened up a little bit more. A lot of them expected goals come from penalty very late on that Stansfield dealt with. And then Dyche come off bench and ended up scoring winner. The thing is, right, the fitness levels, I think, of Birmingham just stand out. Like, obviously, it's from a corner as well, and it was 98th minute, something like that? 98th minute, a Blackburn corner, and you done it first man, and then you get counter-attacked. Whoever took that corner should be docked wages. That was shocking. But you're then trying to defend against someone that through his entire career has had Premier League level fitness and conditioning, and he just looked like, obviously, I've only watched highlights of this game, but it looked like he'd just come on. In 98th minute, he's sprinting down that line like there's no tomorrow. It looks like he's fresh legs and he's played 98 minutes at that point. It was a good finish as well from Dyche, it's got to be said, because I don't rate him at all. But he's a different profile striker in it. He's quite an argy-bargy lad. But that was a tidy little finish, that. Good positioning, good cross from Gray. Everything about that were really well worked. And that's what I mean. Like, Birmingham have not gone there and played well at all. Obviously, stats favour them with the penalty. But by Birmingham standards, this is a poor game. And they've won. That's the most important thing for all of this. They've not had best start at all. They was the drew to Ipswich first game, which is a very hard game, and they're better side and ended up losing points. They've gone here, not been that cracking, and ended up winning. These will be right at the very top, mate. Very top. And Blackburn are just not wrong side of luck, aren't they, really? Like a 98th minute loss away from there. And then against West Brom, there weren't a lot to shout about, in fairness, from the first game, but it was quite even. Again, they've had a very tough start. West Brom away is no easy place to go, and Birmingham are no mugs either. So they've had a very hard start, Blackburn, in fairness. And I won't, again, I said it last week, I would not be in panic stations just yet. But Birmingham are just not messing about, are they? And people will learn. Oh, God. Any believers? Classic Millwall. This is just textbook, innit? Absolutely god awful. Such a roller coaster of emotions, this club. First game, yeah, we'll go to Norwich away where we've not won since chuffing dawn of time and win, and then lose 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough, who got annihilated by Donny midweek. They were just really, really crap, Millwall, from the highlights. Hackney, a good finish, in fairness, and the very lucky Middlesbrough. That I'm assuming Hackney's a Middlesbrough fan. I think he's been there and only there, isn't he? I'm assuming, yeah, definitely. I'm assuming that's why he turned Ipswich move down, because he's a Middlesbrough boy. Very lucky. I'll tell you what, very lucky that you can keep somebody that's this good. They're looking a bit more somewhat like as days go on, but I still think they need more players in. And to be fair, Middlesbrough is second. Like, they've won their opening 2 games, and I thought they'd start so slow. So I can't tell you how surprised I am with how Middlesbrough performed so far. But like I said, they are looking a little bit more somewhat like. I do think they still need a lot of players in for Rob Edwards to do what he actually wants to do for a full season. But one thing you would say about Millwall is they're very sturdy. They're horrible. They're hard to break down. They're just scrappy, well organised, well drilled side, especially from a defensive point of view. And they looked weak. I expect Millwall to play, maybe not Middlesbrough to an extent, maybe these are a bad example, but I expect Millwall to play someone like Sheffield United, who they've got next week, and bully them. That is what I expect from a Millwall side, and they weren't doing that. They looked so easy to play against. But it's got to be said, that is a fantastic win for Middlesbrough. 2 for 2. I seriously thought they'd have had no points at this stage. So, very good start for Middlesbrough. Millwall, absolute certified classic. It's just, I don't know how I didn't see that coming, to be fair. Not good. But again, it's first game. It's first home game. You've got 3 points from your first 2 games, and I think realistically that they took that at start. So it's not end of world, and I still believe. Preston 2, Leicester 1. Now, a lot of people, well, I want to say the majority of people, at least 50% of people that have had a championship prediction table have got Preston going down. And I've got him staying up marginally, but I just think Ecky's got something about him. Like, he really has. He does not take no nonsense, does he, at all. And I think at home, with the odd bit of quality that Preston have truly got, like Ben White in the middle is very good. This fella, this striker, is just exactly what someone like Preston need. A bully. This Alfred Divino they've got from Tottenham, he did really well to get that in from that angle, must be said. And I think defensively at home, Preston will be quite good. Again, a really tough start. QPR away is not an easy game, despite them not having best start ever. And they've gone there and got a point. You're playing against this team effectively won league comfortably last time they were in it, and Preston have bet them 2-1. That is an outrageous team for this division, and Preston have just made fairly light work of it. Leicester really didn't offer a great deal at all going forward. I do worry for these, Like, speaking about Preston, I don't want to take anything away from them because that's a really good win, but Leicester do worry me slightly. I'm not going to lie. Like, defensively, I think they're okay defensively. Like the shit show that Wednesday are in, for example, in first game. Wednesday were better side in first half. It's only because they had to bring a load of nippers on that they ended up losing game. If you can't dispatch teams, like, even though I've just sung Preston's praises, they are still going to be near bottom and scrapping about, but I think they'll stay up. But you've played two sides, Leicester, so far, that one's going to go down with one of the worst tallies ever, and then Preston are going to be in that sort of scrap, and you're coming out of it with, like, skimping Oblin line against Wednesday, and then losing to Preston with this team. And you're only going to get weaker. Like, you've lost your keeper as well. El Canous is an absolute given to leave. Like, Winks has got people looking at him. James Justin's apparently going to Leeds. I don't think Leicester are as nailed on for top six as everybody seems to think they are. But again, going back to it, Preston, that is a really, really nice win, that. Watford 2, QPR 1. Now, speaking of teams that are getting relegated, I think Watford are going to be one. Obviously, they lost 1-0 against Charlton first game. Not that there's any shame in that, because I think a lot of teams will go to Charlton and lose 1-0. But in this game here, from the starts, I was actually quite impressed from the highlight side of things. QPR created very little. The goal were an absolute thunder bastard from, where is he? Where's that? I'm sure he's a fullback. Yeah, Morgan. Absolute scorchio. That were a right strike. But other than that, when Kone come on, he were quite busy, and I don't think it'll be long till he's starting. He were never going to come in and play straight away when Burrell's failing you as well. But Kone wouldn't have had time to adjust to, like, new play style and all that just yet. But I don't think it'll be long till he's playing. And then QPR will offer a lot more going forward. With Poku being injured as well, they're missing a fair few players that are going to play for him. But Watford took advantage of that. This number 9, this new lad that they've got, looked very sharp. It looks like he can do a bit of everything. I know I'm only going off, one set of highlights here where they've actually done anything. But he looks good. I like him. That red card at last minute, I'm not overly convinced that it was one, and I don't think it needs to be a red card at 93rd minute from a ref's perspective. But they've done well there, Watford, to get a win over the line. I do worry about them going forward still, and especially with a lose a red card now, that they could appeal, I guess, and win, but who knows. I just think next couple of weeks, who are the fixtures? Let's go and have a look quickly. Swansea away, Southampton. I'm just gonna say congratulations for your win, Watford. Oh, this is more like it. Okay. Wednesday 0, Stoke 3. Now, all I'm seeing on Twitter, and the fact that I live local to this, I'm only in Barnsley, so I'm 10 minutes up road. I'm seeing Wednesday fans say, right, we're storming pitch, we're going to get this all called off. So I'm sat there waiting for, Twitter feed to come through after the game. The game's been called off, and it's not. Nobody's ran up pitch. They blew a couple whistles for 30 seconds. Tannoy come on. They stopped doing exactly what they were supposed to do immediately, like good little boys. Good boys, Wednesday. And then immediately, 1-0 Stoke in first minute. Now we'll speak about Stoke being good, which they were, obviously, as you'd expect. And again, Wednesday just pretty much hopeless, apart from Charles in net. And again, they've put 3 past him as well, so it's not like best game ever. But when you've got a bunch of absolute dough balls in front of you, there's not much you can really do. I think he's the only bright spark in that entire club. But Stoke have started really good. 3 goals each in both the 2 games against Derby. Oh, even though they've conceded 8, Derby in the first 2 games, I think will be defensively quite sturdy. And then, like I said, Leicester ended up limping over the line against Wednesday at their place, and Stoke have gone to Wednesday and just took piss really easily. Very good start for Stoke. Wednesday, I am truly not convinced on where they'll even get a win from. An odd point I could see at home. But where they'll get a win from with this team, which still, I stand by, is actually not as bad as they're making out. The bench definitely is, but the starting 11 is truly not horrendous. They're not starting 11 kids, are they? It's like Valerie, Eyup, Lowe, Palmer, Baz, Ingleson, Jamal Lowe. These lads are all on good money. Like, you're paying these competitive championship wages and then you're crying that you're bottom at league and shit. That way coughing, though, wow. That really tickled me. Dad, can we go and play out? No, sorry, son, I've got to carry this wooden box through Hillsborough Park. God. Oh my God. I wonder if they'll lend it to the mates down at City as well, actually. Let's go and have a look. Swansea 1, Sheffield United 0. Now, I'm looking at bottom at league and it says Sheffield in 23 and 24. Now, a Sheffield double might mean one thing in S1, but it means a completely different thing to me, and this is it. Absolute arse bandit again from Sheffield United. Not surprising in slightest. Robinson is an absolute dog. He's shit. He wants to leave. Once again, I'm not surprised that these are the ratings. Obviously, I've not watched the game and I've only seen highlights, but Binden's only one that's got an half-decent rating, and they were gaining pelters and all in first game. He's defending on his own. Obviously, they've changed slightly tactically from the bits that I've seen here. But in first game, when they lost 4-1, there were Binden stood on his own with Norrington Davies next to him against, 4 Bristol City players on counter-attack. It's more or less same thing here as well. Robinson and Binden, it's just not a good partnership. Binden needs a proper leader next to him, a big fella, I think, like Mbengu were at QPR. Robinson's never been a captain, ever. From outside looking in, that fella should not have armband on. I just think, from the stats and what I've seen so far of Sheffield United, which were a little bit of the Bristol City game, and then just highlights of both and looking at stats and everything, there's just no connection at all between midfield to front three. There's no service. Hamer, from the 2 games so far, just really don't look arsed in the bits that I've seen. But how are you supposed to get ball from it here up to here with the crop of players that you've got? I've truly got no idea. I don't blame Sellers in slightest. I think Sheffield United fans that are blaming him are truly just looking for any excuse to say, oh, I told you so about Wilder being sacked. Which maybe that were the wrong thing. In fact, it probably were the wrong thing. But it's happened. Grow up. Oh, Jesus Christ. Am I going to sit here and say, well, in 1912, we should have been promoted to top division, but there were votes, so Arsenal got in. Just get on with it. Just think about what's in front of you. What's point in dwelling up past? I sound like Wednesday. So have a look at bench and players that he's got to work with. Curtis, who on loan at Peterborough last season, is a kid. Is not good enough. I've never heard of that fella in my life. One is a kid. I don't know who that is. Norrington Davies is worse than kids. The bench is awful. How are you supposed to win a game when as soon as you make a sub from a starting 11 that's still truly not that good, your squad level depletes massively? And Sheffield United, I think, have got a very good academy. It speaks for itself. They win their under-23s and everything every single year. And it churns out players like Peck and Arblaster and other lads and One and like players that they've had for a number of years. Their academy's very good. But it's not an excuse to just not go and get quality in. It's not an excuse to just lob them all at starting 11 and expect it to work. You've got to nurture these boys and bring them in properly. I can't remember him even sending some of the better loans out. Like Arblaster went to Port Vale. I've never seen Peck go on loan. He's just been shoved straight into deep end. I've never seen One go out on loan. He's just been shoved into deep end. If you're not nurturing these really good kids that you've got, you're going to send them backwards. Sheffield United's owners, for a start, I've got to get the finger out. But fan base, Jesus Christ, all you go on about is how humble you are, and you want your manager out after 2 games when he's not had a chance to do anything for himself. You're daft, lads. Swansea, good win though, must be said. After going up to Middlesbrough and it being quite a scrappy game, I think Swansea have done well here. Like, they've dispatched a poor side, realistically, and a 1-0 win's nice, really good. And then finally, Bristol City 0, Charlton 0. I don't speak about 0-0s ever because I think it's just a complete waste of time. But just quickly from Charlton's perspective, this is exactly why they will stay up. Just defensively, extremely sturdy. I think this is all they'll focus on doing every time they go away. Be hard to break down, be good on set pieces, and they'll be dandy. But Bristol City, not to worry about there after the first game. Tactically, it's hard to break someone down like Charlton that's just going to sit and have loads of men behind the ball. Forgive me for lighting, I'm filming this day after. Ipswich 1, Southampton 1 from the Sunday. Now, I think this was a tale of 2 halves, if I'm going to be completely honest. I do think a draw is very fair on the surface of it, but first half I thought Southampton were probably the better side. I think Southampton gave Ipswich more to think about than Birmingham did, if I'm being completely real. And I thought Birmingham were a better team against Ipswich. But second half, I think it evened itself out, and Ipswich could and probably should have ended up getting a couple more chances than they did. A good finish from that Robinson. Very unlucky with Arwood Bellis. And I think this is 2 at top sides. I think it's so clear to see. Everybody's going on about the Ipswich side of things and that they've only got 2 points from first 2 games. They're not going to go and win this league. They're crap. But realistically, we're looking at the majority of teams that people have got as favourites for this division are Ipswich, Birmingham and Southampton. Ipswich have played both of them first 2 games and got 2 points out of it. Like, obviously, I think they rode the luck against Birmingham, don't get me wrong. And I think a point, they're snagged, really. I think a point's fair here. But to have two of your hardest games, especially the Birmingham one, two of your hardest games the entire season out at way, and to be unbeaten in it, it gives Ipswich a chance now and a bit of a platform to go into like some of the easier games per se, and get a run together now. Southampton look good though. I do think the strength in depth from both these teams and Birmingham, I think all them three are just miles in front, squad level wise, and the reliability of subs and everybody else. They're just so much better than everybody. Like the fact that they can just churn this fella out. I've never seen him in my life. Who is Jay Robinson? 4 appearances last season, and then he won man at match yesterday. I've never seen him before. Middle at part, they look good. Obviously, Ipswich one, they've got Kajust in. Once he's fit, there'll be something to deal with. Smodics, I thought, had a good game, to be honest. I disagree with that rating. Two good sides. I think a draw's fair. And when we're looking at reverse fixture of this, it's second half of the season. I think these will be third bottom, really. Not third. I'm not saying relegation. I'm not saying like Wednesday. I'm saying I think they will be third at the very least in this table, both of these sides. Can't say the same about these boys, though. Hull 3, Oxford 2. Now, the nature of the win is impressive. McBurney scored winner, and he got the assist for that one and that one. So, you know, Sheffield United fans who don't really like him that much, and they can't string a pass together in final third. And you've got Ollie McBurney coming back and dropping 9 match ratings, goal and 2 assists instantly, scored against Wrexham. God, he's a player. He's a player, McBurney. I absolutely loved him when he was at Barnsley. He's a great player. The thing I would say, looking at Oxford, like I think they'll stay up still, obviously. I know it's only 2 games in because they've got some really good players in that squad. Like a good finish from Lancashire and from Brannigan. But the thing is, whenever I see the highlights of an Oxford game, it's still the same as last season in terms of there's not enough from a forward's perspective. There's not enough link-up play. There's not enough clear chances, I don't think, that are getting made. Like, some of the whole goals were very well worked in final third. McBurney did really well to link it up, and like his link-up play in general for a 9, I think, is good, McBurney. It worked really well with Njai for Sheffield United, for example. But I think someone like Hull, who I've got right at bottom of this division, and a lot of people have, they can do like intricate little play in final third and create very good chances. Oxford's goals, a lot of them are just screamers from edge at box. The only chances that I saw from this game are two like volleys from Lancashire and Brannigan, and then I don't know, it might have been Phillips or somebody that had a shot that were close as well from edge at box. They're not creating enough final third, and they've got the quality there. And again, this is very Gary Rowett. His strengths are also like partly his weaknesses as a manager. I think he's very simple, Gary Rowett, and defensively can make you very hard to beat. But when you concede to Portsmouth and not scoring, and then you can see 3 away at all, you got to take rough with smooth a little bit, haven't you? And that's what Gary Rowett is. He did it with Millwall for year on year. And I think once it clicks with Oxford, they'll be fine. But going forward, there's still that worry for me that they're not offering enough, really. But it's a really good win for Hull, it must be said. McBurney on a 3, that is a serious pickup, because I think he would genuinely start for a lot of teams in this division. Despite him not having a flashy name, I think he knows where net is. He did for us, he did for Swansea, he did for Sheffield United occasionally. I think his link-up play is good. That is a pickup, that, for someone who's done it consistently in Championship in this league. But looking at the table, obviously we've got a Sheffield double at bottom at league. Wednesday, I don't think he'll shift from that position all year. They are dead last, and that should be that, really. Curtains already. Sheffield United down there as well, though, obviously. I think the second bottom on alphabeticals only need some players in and quickly. Derby have conceded a lot of goals. They've conceded 8 in 2 games, which is not like Derby at all, but when Eustace gets a grip on them, they'll be fine. Wrexham are down there. I don't think that'll be for long. Same as Ipswich and Millwall. Like, they're all like 16th lower. Going up to top, there's a lot of teams on 4 points, but there's only 3 that have won both the games so far, and it's West Brom, Middlesbrough and Stoke that have each had a flawless start. Middlesbrough, I thought, start so slow. I want to say it again, but they scored 4, conceded none. I know they actually got annihilated in cut by Donny, but maybe that weren't master plan so they could focus on league. Good start for 2 up boys in red, Stoke and Middlesbrough. And I'll just say it once more, Sheffield United 23rd, Sheffield Wednesday 24th. Moving on. League 1, baby. Blackpool 3, Huddersfield 2. Very, very surprised with this scoreline, I'm not going to lie. Especially when the red card come in as well, because it was 3-2 before the red card happened. I thought, because obviously I'm at Barnsley game, so I weren't watching this. But when I was looking through scores every now and again, I thought that it was 3-1 to Blackpool, and then they got a red card, and then Huddersfield took advantage of that later on. To see that out for, well over an hour we added time on as well, against an Huddersfield side with the money that they spent and the level of personnel that they've got within that squad, that is serious, that, from Blackpool. That is a really good result. They've grinded that out so well. I want to look at stats, actually, for second half. See, I think they've done well here. They've made Huddersfield in full second half against 10 men for full thing. I've 1 shot on target and that's it. They surrendered all at ball, but there's ways to do it though, isn't there? Because I think if you come out and you just defend without a plan, you're just sticking men back and you've got no outlet all the time, you will eventually just lose. But they saw that out so well. I think, is there a problem at Huddersfield in terms of being able to break low blocks down? Especially with the first two games that Huddersfield have actually had. Like Leighton Orient at home, for example, first game. They're very good going forward, but quite suspect defensively anyway. Reading at same. Maybe against low blocks, maybe against someone like a Wimbledon or a Stevenage, maybe Huddersfield would struggle in them sort of games. But Blackpool have done very well to get that off that line. Good finish from Gooch, got to be said. But Ennis is a good forward for this division. He proved it last year. Hit a good buy game of that line. And after a relatively easy start, Blackpool, from what you'd expect, like Stevenage, another top of league, but Stevenage and Exeter, to get no points from that and then go and beat Huddersfield with 10 men for an hour. Proper character, that. Really good win. And as for Huddersfield, come on, lads, there's absolutely no to be worried about, is there? Maybe against certain teams you will struggle, but you're not going to win every single game, regardless at squad level that you've got. Wouldn't be that worried. Birmingham started fairly slow. They weren't coming flying straight out at blocks last season. They drew the first game at home to Reading. I just hope that Huddersfield don't think, oh God, we've not got a good team here, then go and drop another like 3 million quid. I just don't. Just accept what you've got. You're going to be fine. You don't need to go and like break every record possible. Speaking of really good wins, right, let me just address something right now. Let me get the lineups up. So, Humphreys, to me, is not a traditional 9. I saw the interview that he did after the game, where he himself has said in past he is not a traditional 9. Because of the way that they play, and obviously I've not seen Bradford yet, so I've not got anything to actually go off. When I have now listened to that, it's clear that even though he is starting in a number 9, and it was definitely number 9's finish for his goal, just a tap in from 2 yards, they're the positions that you want to be in, innit? They're best goals to score. It's not a case of, right, I'm stood here and that's it. He does have freedom to move around like quite fluidly with Sarkovic and Poynton as well, and that's fine. If Humphreys has been given the freedom by Bradford's manager to go and do what he thinks right at whatever given time, if he can go and pick up pockets where he wants and get ball to feet and turn and run at a man, if he thinks that's right, then you will still have a very good player there. I just think because of like the highlight side of things, where he is very central in highlights, and obviously looking at team sheet and everything like that, to me, from outside looking into this, it looks like he is just a traditional number 9. But after the interview, now I understand that's not the case. You're going to have a very good player on your hands in Humps. Bradford, just, and don't take this wrong way, because this is actually a good thing. Bradford remind me of Stevenage, like immediately as soon as they've come into this division. Very experienced. I think defensively, especially at home, they will be very solid. Obviously, they bet Wickham and Luton first 2 games at home, so they are 2 at bookies' favourites realistically from odds at start of season. I don't know why Wickham are, but I can understand Luton. They've got a lot of experience, especially with back line. They're just going to be a very hard team to break down, I think, especially at their place, and Luton have found that out hard way. Like, don't get it wrong, I thought Luton would come in here and win. I really did, because I think Bradford had struggled to create chances, but again, that weren't the case. Better team start to finish. I think teams probably need to take a little bit of notice of Bradford realistically. Like, especially at home, they're going to be very good. But then, this is what I mean, like, the next game is away to Stockport. That is tough. Away from home, I do think there will be fairly weak. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Luton drop some more money before transfer window's done with the amount that they've actually got. But I think every time you lose a game within transfer window and you've got some money and you're a favourite and you're expected to be up there, I think it's just reason for the manager to go and knock on board's door and say, give me some brass, we need this if we want to get promoted. So, won't surprise me to see Luton drop a couple milli before it's done. But Bradford, good side, good lord. I cannot believe I thought Rotherham would come here and get something. I truly can't believe what's wrong with me. I have banged on about all winter and all summer and all season so far that Rotherham are just awful. They're creating nothing, and then I think they're getting relegated. And then they come here and don't have more than... I'm not even counting that as a shot, you know. I'm not even going to count it. I'm going to say that Rotherham hadn't had a shot for full game because it was 0.03 expected goals. Cardiff, who should have lost to Port Vale, by the way, who've just come up from League One, they're so lucky to come away with a point, have absolutely annihilated you. Now, Nombi's still injured, and I saw a Rotherham fan on Twitter say that he's out for a couple of months, apparently. I am very worried about you. In case I've not said it already with Rotherham, they are terrifying me that they could sink straight to bottom. That team, lads, I'm going to say it again, that team's awful. It really is. And I don't think Cardiff, like looking at it personnel-wise, Cardiff's is okay for this division. It's a very young side, that, and they've just ripped piss at you. Like, what are the ages of some of these lads? What's Fish, about 20? Law's about 19. Capacchio's about 17. Ashford's young. Colwell and Tanner aren't exactly old boys. Like, they've got a very young squad. Against all this experience that Rotherham have got, and they've just, literally, they've little broed you. Cardiff have just took piss. God, I am really, really, really scared about these. They didn't have a shot in first half. 30% possession. I can't believe as well. I'm sure whatever his name is, Rotherham's manager, come out and said he were happy with first half. Hold on. This can't be right game. How can you come out and say you're happy with that half? You've not touched the ball. You've not had a shot. Yes, you went in 1-0 down, which didn't end at World. But how can you come in and say, right, we're losing 1-0 at half time. We've not touched the ball once and we've literally not even gone there half. But that's all right. If they are the standards that Rotherham are setting, you are only going one way and that is down. But I'll tell you what, for Cardiff's perspective, away from home, again, I think they could struggle. Like maybe quite similar to Bradford in terms of that. Because I think going away with a young squad, to sides that are very experienced and an hostile environment, something like Port Vale, I do think you will struggle. Whereas at home, when you've got all crowd behind you, and not many teams are going to be more than chuffing a minibus to Cardiff this season. I think at home they'll be very good, but away could be the Achilles heel, Cardiff. So, very good win. But Rotherham are just truly awful. Orient 2, Stockport 2. Really good game. Obviously, Stockport went 2-0 up in first half, and I was just sat there again thinking, this is another side that's just going to be impossible to catch. But this weekend has been proof, if anything, that teams that are very good can drop points and can lose games. Luton obviously lost. Huddersfield lost their 2 favourites. Stockport have dropped points. Obviously, Bolton have dropped points. Cardiff dropped points midweek. A lot of your favourites are dropping points fairly early, which is a good thing for me to think about. But after a really good first half, where they definitely deserve to be 2-0 up in fairness, a really good header from Nathan Lowe as well. I think we'll be seeing a lot of that. Just good across board out the Stockport, I say it all the time. But second half, when obviously you're going in 2-0 up, remember, second half, to come out and just try and absorb pressure like that, they've not got 10 men. This is what Barnsley and Blackpool have done this weekend, having 10 men for like an hour each. But to come out and not have ball at all, how are you supposed to see a game out if you've never got the ball? Eventually, you will be cracked open. And they did it twice. I genuinely think, despite a 93rd minute equaliser, Stockport are lucky to have come away with anything there, and they were 2-0 up at half time. It's such poor man management now, which I would never say about Stockport's gaffer. Leighton Orient have done well though to come back from 2-0 down and get something there. Leighton Orient no mugs. They're going to score a lot of goals. I think they'll be in and around this picture, and especially when you can be 2-0 down at home and ended up coming back and nicking something against a good side. Despite obviously Stockport's own shortcomings there, this is a good team, but Stockport, it's just questionable, which I don't think I'd ever normally say about him. It's just questionable decisions from bench. Donny 1, Wickham 1. Billy Sharp has scored a goal. Are we serious? Unk is running around scoring goals at this big age. That weren't the most eye-watering goal you've ever seen, were it? It's obviously Wickham's keeper being a donut and being very, very, very focused on playing it out from back and not giving up that sort of idea at all, which... That's quite a new thing. That's not a Mike Dodds thing. I think he's just changed his ideas on what football is in last week, because I've never once seen a Wickham team do that. Maybe I'm completely miles off mark here, but to be so adamant to play out front back like that, I think he's thought, listen, I'm going to get sacked here, but if I get sacked with 80% possession, I might end up at Man United. Really strange decision, that it's got to be said. And now that Kone is gone, they need to spend some money on this team and quickly, because that is absolute arse bandit. I think they've done well to come and get a point from Donny's side. Obviously, these are no mugs. They'd won the first 2 games, but it's a very poor start for Wickham. They've had 1 point in 3 games. Bradford away is tough. Obviously, Stockport at home, again, is tough. And Donny away, I think it's like a fairly hard start in fairness. But to only come away with 1 point when you're supposed to win at favourites, not the best. They've had a lot of change in fairness, and it might be one where they start picking up towards the back end once it's quite settled. But with Mike Dodds in charge, you never know, baby. I'm not feeling it. But yeah, another really good point for Donny. They're just chipping away nicely. Donny and Bradford have come up from League 2 and are just immediately sat in playoffs. So, good start for them. Lincoln 3, Plymouth 2. And Lincoln were 3-0 up as well. I'll tell you what. The attacking side of things from Plymouth really ain't that bad. I think the attack and the... Like the front 5 sort of thing that you can see on there, the Ibrahim and Boateng, and then the front 4, or the 6 even, there's more than 5 players here, mate. The front 6, to an extent, I think is capable of this division. We're still not pulling any trees up here. I think it's potential to get top 6, that midfield and forward line. The defence is absolutely god-awful, and it has not changed from first game to now. Brendan Wiredu has been sent off again. I'm actually not really sure what for. I've watched highlights, and I must have watched that 10 times to try and see what he's done. I don't know if refs thought that he's dove for pen, which I don't think he did, to be honest. I think he just took a tumble. It weren't a penalty. Don't get me wrong, it definitely weren't a penalty, but I think he's just fallen over. I don't think he's tried buying anything. I think he's just naturally fallen over. and ref's just given him a red card. I don't know, but it's probably one of the most interesting starts to a career I've ever seen in my entire life. Obviously, he made his debut against Barnsley. Should have been sent off, even though he only got a yellow card. If we're being completely serious, he should have got a red card there. Lumps ball into his own net and then lumps ball up into air for our second goal, second goal. Comes off bench against Bolton when they're 2-0 down and does nothing. And then gets a red card and just another Hall of Shame performance. I actually think he's a good player. I think once he's settled inside, you'll see something there. But he's had an awful start. Said it loads of times, it doesn't need to be said again. Lincoln and no mugs. Not many sides will go here and win. I stand by that. But Plymouth still need a lot of bodies in and fast. I just hope people aren't looking at Cleverley and thinking, this man's clearly not right for the job. When he's not been given chance, it's very much like a Sellers situation at Sheffield United. There's not a lot you can really do with the tools that he's been given here. This is a mid-table fodder squad, if I've ever seen it. They need some players in and fast. Reading won Wimbledon too. Nah, I said that Wimbledon had come here and got a draw. I didn't necessarily think they'd win. But with the stature and frame of the Wimbledon lads in comparison to Reading's, I'm not overly surprised. Wimbledon are going to be really good on counter-attacks. They're going to be really good on set pieces. This is just going to be what they're like all year. They're not going to be easy to break down these. And if I regret anything from our pre-season predictions, it's saying that these were going to go down last. I really do regret that. Because I think they've shown so much that a lot of sides that are consistently in this division do not show ever. Wimbledon are very, very, very tough to break down. They've still kept Stevens, which I think is instrumental to how they play, really, that they can soak up pressure and then just get him up pitch really quickly. Obviously, the goal from Reading come from this guy in Middle of Park. Again, just an absolute thunder bastard. Why he's still in this division, I am absolutely gobsmacked. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is his 5th year in League One. Why? Why is he still... He got 18 goal contributions from Middle of Park. What's happening? I get loads of experience from Middlesbrough as well in Championship. Why is he still here? I don't get it. Yeah, same as always though. The width is just really, really poor for Reading. I'm going to keep saying it until it's addressed. The width is awful. The spine I don't think is the worst thing ever, especially when Paddy O'Connor comes in. But Wimbledon have gone and done a job on him and they'll be first of many. Really, really good start for Wimbledon this season. And now we're going to move on to our table toppers. Stevenage have won 2-0 at home to Northampton and are the only side in the division to have won the first 3 games. Must be said, not surprising. I don't know if I said 2-0 for this. I might have said 1-0. In fact, no, I think I said Stevenage 2-0. I think I got this bang on. But Northampton just look weak as piss. I'm not going to lie, I worry for him against a very sturdy side that just want to fight for everything and go for every ball. The first on every second ball. And I just think they never give anything up, Stevenage. They look like a very, very motivated side. Everybody's buying into the same thing. They're a good team. They're a good collective, Stevenage are, whereas Northampton just aren't. And they're not going pulling any trees up, Stevenage, but they're never going to be like that. They're not going to come away from a game with 20 shots like the Cardiff stats against Rotherham. Not one game for Stevenage will look like that. They'll have a lot where it's very 50-50, but just with the odd bit of quality that they've got, and the consistent willingness to run and put a tackle in and be strong and be defensively sturdy, they will grind out a lot of wins playing like that. Obviously, Rotherham at home's piss easy, and so is Northampton, to be fair. But Blackpool away to go and win that first game, I think that's just set tone, really. They're out at Cup early doers, not wrong with that. Like, it's just another thing to worry about, really. They've got league as the focus. I'll tell you, I think I had a mid-table. People that had them anywhere near this relegation battle, you're well off. Stevenage are a very good side. Northampton, though, are not, sadly. Wigan 2, Peterborough 0. Now, I don't know why. Another one I believed this week in Rotherham and Peterborough. And that despite obviously being shit and me thinking that they're both going down, I thought, surely they will offer something. Surely. And both of them have left me heavily disappointed. Like, they've at least offered something going forward here, Peterborough, for probably first time this season. They only go so far with that penalty against Cardiff first game. But they've not had most expected goals, really. They've had a lot of possession, which I feel like you would probably expect against Wigan anyway. They're not the most dominating side. They're good at back and they can see games out, which is a strong point. But again, they're not a Cardiff or something against Rotherham. But I'm just going to say it again. Let me go and look at this team. Personnel's miles off. It's absolutely miles off. And I'm not being funny. Wigan last season were awful. And I think the squads last season between these two teams were like this. In terms of this is Peterborough. Miles better than Wigan last season, personnel-wise. Despite Wigan finishing in front of them. But now I think we've gone full circle. Peterborough's squad is absolutely disgraceful. And I'm saying all this right. And we're playing them Tuesday night. So Barnsley going away to Peterborough Tuesday night. Well, absolutely we will lose that game because of everything I'm saying. But it won't change anything. I think Peterborough in a lot of bother. I've said it from my pre-season predictions to now. And I think I will do until they've gone down. I really am struggling to see any positives with this Peterborough side at all. They're so weak defensively, as you'd expect. They just look so shaky as well from highlights. They look nervous. It's just not good. And you're not going to be confident, are you? This squad does not fill anybody with confidence, even lads on pitch. Wigan, defensively good. This Murray, again, he scored 2 in first game, didn't he? Well, obviously, like, I've not seen anything of these lads yet. I've only seen highlights. But he's looked sharp, very sharp. For a free transfer as well from Kilmarnock, not bad. Wigan, I think, will be a lot higher up than they were last season. Peterborough, well, they finished like, what, 6th bottom, something like that. Yeah, I'm going to go 5 places lower. Exeter 1, Mansfield 2, early kickoff. Again, I think they scored late on. Yeah, Will Evans scored in 86th minute to win it for him. So after a really, really impressive win at home to Blackpool, it's just back to normality now for Exeter, where they can't really get a foot on a game. Mansfield are no mugs. I just want to put it out there. I think they'll be okay. They lost the first 2 before coming into this, but I do think Mansfield will be fine. Exeter I still struggle to see a great deal of excitement with, but it's a good win for Mansfield, and this could be one that has a lot riding on it at end of season. Like, Mansfield might be looking back at this in 6-7 months and thinking, thank God we bet Exeter early doers, because I do think both of these will be in some sort of like bottom 8-ish. Don't get me wrong, even though I think Mansfield will be alright, I still think they'll be down there, but you've got to win your own games. I said it last week when they bet Blackpool, you've got to win your own games, because they have not had an hard start at all. Obviously, the bet Blackpool are going to be like a mid-table top halfer, but a newly promoted Donny away, and then Mansfield at home, and to come out with 0 points from them 2 games specifically, well, you're much more likely to be chasing than Blackpool once it's time. It's really poor to give up points like that, and I do worry for Exeter. I think they're just fairly fortunate that teams like Rotherham and Peterborough are in here. Holy shit, the lads. Barnsley 1, Bolton 1. Now, we've just had a red card in 52nd minute. I think on surface of it, it's probably fair. I'm not going to lie. Like, if it went other way, I'd be screaming me nut off for it to be a red card. So I can't say that and then not think exact same thing. One thing I will say, though, despite I think he got that decision wrong, that ref, again, is just an absolute idiot. So shit. Every single week, he's crap. I think we're fortunate that the red card is in middle at Park, because that's definitely his strongest area, and you've got someone like Kelly or Russell or, well, Bland maybe, that could just come in and just immediately fit in seamlessly. So that don't worry me, the red card in middle. And like I said, I do think a draw were a fair result. Like, obviously we're seeing that, but first half and up until goal, we were better side. Second half, once we had red card, you're expecting stats to be like that. And I think going up against a very, very good side, which Bolton are. I know none of us played particularly that well, but I do think this is 2 good teams. But to go up against a very good Bolton side for a full half, and he put 8 minutes up and all the dickhead, and to still come out with a point, I know we didn't win, even though we were winning, but still come out with a point there, I am happy with. The thing is, I'm so glad that we've used loan market properly now, because Vickers and Cooper, we have no reason. We should not have players like this. I don't think Bolton should have players like this lad, who got absolutely locked up, by the way, by Ogbeta, who Bolton fans are saying is absolutely dog shit. We've got best winger to ever grace this planet, and he didn't get a sniff. Ogbeta had him locked up all game. I think we defended quite well, in fairness, but I still would like one in. I think we're a defender and probably a striker away from being right at very top. And I think Bolton probably could do with a defender as well. Maybe a different striker in, because he's a right soft ass, you know. But other than that, I do think this is 2 good sides. A draw's fair. I'd have took it before game, and I'm happy with it now. Yeah, and I think Bolton will probably feel the same. This. I hope it's not a playoff fixture, because I want us to both go up, but that's a fair result, I think, on surface of it. And then Burton 0, Port Vale 0. Never a red card in a million years. It's not even a foul. Near mind a red card, that is not a foul. If you can't just take somebody out now, getting all ball, then game is truly gone. Gets all up ball. Then he goes through him afterwards. What do you think he's just going to... So there's a man here. He comes through, take him out, and then just immediately go and stop there. No, obviously you're going to take someone with him. You can't just tackle him and then go, oh, just immediately spring back to my feet and run off. It's not possible. Like, I think game's gone. The game is gone. But they did well to go and see it out, because as I saw last week firsthand when they come to Barnsley and were 2-0 up, Burton and no mugs, good side, but Port Vale have had a lot to go up against. Same as Barnsley, they've had a lot to go up against in the first few games, and the point tally being 2 for Port Vale, I know, but I think that's honestly half decent with the shit that they've gone through so far. Good point. And then looking at the table, foot at table is Peterborough, not surprising, but what will be even less surprising is when they've got 3 points against us on Tuesday. Reading and Plymouth in there as well. The teams that are actually down here that I worry about properly, Peterborough, Northampton, Rotherham, and then going up to like your Exeters, Mansfields, Burton, I guess, to maybe not, to be honest. But then going to top, obviously, we Huddersfield and Luton losing, and obviously Bolton dropping points as well. Bradford, Donny, Stockport, Barnsley and Cardiff all on 2 wins and a draw, so it gives them 7 points. But the only team to have won all 3 games so far, 9 points, is Stevenage, who top the division. Go on, lads! But that's that. Kiss, absolute pleasure. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy it. It does help me out a lot. And I can't do one of these for League One games midweek because I'll be on holiday, but I will do one on TikTok instead. So I'll see you on there. Love you all, and I'll see you in a bit. Goodbye.
I say I'm a man, yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us me tits.